When you become a dad, you have no idea what really to expect. As your kids get older, you realize that every parent is trying their best, but rarely has the time or space to talk about their experience. I'm Devin, and I host and produce the Imperfect Dads podcast. I believe every dad cares deeply about their family and needs a space to talk about it. Most of my conversations are with musicians, authors, social media personalities, podcast hosts, and everyday dads. I've even had on some of my favorite musicians, like Matt Pryor and Jim Suptic of the Get Up Kids, and everyone from Jason Isbell's band, The 400 Unit, Chad Gamble, Souther Vaden, Bill Johnson, and Derry Deborah. Parenting challenges you and expands your definition of love in ways you'd never expect. The Imperfect Dads is where dads go to talk about their mental space, hopes, exhaustion, and humor that's all part of the journey. Find the Imperfect Dads podcast on your preferred platform, and make sure to follow us on Instagram or TikTok at the Imperfect Dads podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Safe and Sound, a podcast about the intersection of music and mental health with me, your host, Jeremy Houtsma, licensed mental health therapist. Today's episode is with a guest who I've wanted to have on since I envisioned this podcast, so I'm just ecstatic to have him on. My guest today is Walter Schreifels from the bands Gorilla Biscuits, Youth of Today, Quicksand, and Rival Schools. To me, Walter is the GOAT. Almost any band in the hardcore, post-hardcore, and emo scene has Walter to thank. Personally, Walter's music has been incredibly impactful in my own life. Rival Schools United by Fate got me through one of the hardest periods of my life. So listen as Walter and I talk about his early youth, his approach to songwriting, how music has uplifted his mental health, and how the hell Rival Schools didn't get sued with naming their band and first album after a video game. I hope you enjoy this as much as I did. So let's get to the interview. Appreciate so much, Walter. You've been the one guest that I've wanted to have on forever.
Well, I appreciate that.
I adore your music, always have since I was 20. I'm 42 now.
Thank you.
So I'm a huge fan. So I really appreciate you coming on. I know you got to be in some sort of press run right now, right?
I am, dude. It's been great, but it's like I'm trying to keep track of it all. It's been a little tricky.
Yeah, no worries, man. Well, the album came out 5 days ago, is it? Quicksand? Okay, how are you guys feeling about that?
Feeling great, man. Getting so much great positive response. So, we've been sitting on it for a while now. So it's so cool. Like putting out all the songs prior to the release was really cool because they were really well received. And then now that the album's out, people are hearing it as an entire thing. And I think it really works like that. And people are picking up on it. So I'm feeling fucking awesome about it.
Yeah. Sweet, man. So where you grew up in New York, right?
When I was a little kid, I lived in Rockaway Beach, and which is really pretty, right? You know, you're on the beach. It's awesome. And then I went and lived with I lived in Penn State when my parents went to college for a little while when I was, early, some elementary school. And then I moved back to Rockaway, I think in 4th grade. And then I lived there for till sophomore year of high school. And then sophomore year of high school, I lived in Ohio with my dad for a year. And then I moved back to New York. But by that time, my mom had moved to Astoria, Queens. And that's kind of when I started going to punk shows, was around that time. Yeah, my parents had cool record collections. Like, I really gravitated probably more towards my mom's taste, which was like Bob Dylan, Donovan, Cat Stevens, some other kind of weird records I would find in her collection, like New York Rock and Roll Ensemble. My dad had very kind of yacht rock kind of tastes. Like, he was very like Steely Dan, Seals and Crofts, but also Beach Boys, and having the Beach Boys double album, Endless Summer, I think is the name of it.
Yeah.
Was big for me too. So yeah, I would get into my parents' record collections.
Just really, are you a Steely Dan fan?
I am more and more all the time.
Okay. I've been trying to figure this out about Steely Dan because like it's yacht rockish, but at the same time it's so captivating. Like it hits on something that is way different to me than yacht rock. But like I don't know what it is about it that is so appealing. And I'm curious what you find super appealing about Steely Dan.
I think I like just the energy, the vibe of it. You know, maybe it reminds me of my childhood in some ways. On a musical level, like I find it interesting for like what they're pulling off and how easy it sounds, but yet it's so elite players, really. So I think it's like sort of has like this sort of like appeal that broad, yet it's very is a musician like how to like you can learn from it or just be amazed by it. I don't like you know, I just kind of put it on in the background when I'm doing stuff and it just makes me feel like just kind of good.
Yeah, it just kind of like lifts you up, right? Like you're just it's like dancing tunes.
Yeah. It just feels good. And yacht rock is sort of like maybe sounds like it's diminishing a sort of sound, but it's really that like early to mid 70s, like just really good musicians. They didn't like look cool, but they were like living a cool life, making like uplifting music that really well played and had good lyrics, good song craft, you know what I mean? So like I don't use that as a pejorative.
Oh, sure.
I like all that stuff.
Yeah. So you said like when you were how old you got kind of into punk rock? Like what was your gateway into that?
My cousin took to see a double feature to see the Who movie, The Kids Are All Right.
Yeah.
And the opening movie, or maybe it was the second movie, I think it was the opening movie of the double feature was Rock and Roll High School.
Okay.
The Ramones movie.
Yeah.
And you know, both movies blew my mind and I'm still reeling from that afternoon.
Yeah.
The Who like were so fucking cool. And punk, and the Ramones are so fucking cool and punk. So, but I think the Ramones was like more accessible, like this simpler, and I just loved how they were living. You know, the leather jackets and just you know this sort of like, you know, it was more for kids.
Yeah,
I really loved it.
So, when was the first time? Like, was guitar your first kind of instrument that you started with, or did you graduate to guitar? Like what did you start out with?
I took violin lessons when I was little and I remember being pretty good at it actually. I don't remember why I stopped, but at some point I stopped and then I wanted a guitar and my dad got me a guitar probably when I was like 10 or 11 or something like that. I didn't know how to play it, but I would just kind of like make sounds with the strings, you know, and fuck around. I kind of got more into it when I was probably like 13, and I think I got some guitar lessons that year. And then I was just into it, and then I was like all about playing guitar and writing songs, and I was into like basketball and stuff like that before that, and I didn't care about any of that kind of stuff anymore.
Were you a Knicks fan?
Yeah, I wasn't such like at that early age, I wasn't really like into watching sports. It's just like as a normal boy, I guess, into playing them. You know, especially in Rockaway, it's a very sporty community. So, you know, being good at basketball was sort of the currency of being cool. So I didn't suck at it, but I wasn't great at it either.
Yeah. It's funny because I work with teenagers mostly from a counseling perspective, and there's so many of them that play sports, and I'll just be like, oh, like they're really into soccer or something like that. I'll be like, did you watch the World Cup? And they'll be like, no. Like, I'm like, really?
Yeah, I mean, you're into playing. You're
Yeah.
into playing. You're into being in the thing. Watching it. I think maybe if like, if your dad likes to, that could be a bonding experience with
Right.
with a parent or something like that. But that didn't really happen for me. I got into watching sports when I was like in my 20s, actually, because I
Okay.
was going to games. So then once I started going to games, became more interested in watching them or knowing about them and like reading about it. I just got more into, and also with sports, I think I really liked, I like the stories about it more than even
Sure.
sometimes watch games. It's just like, it's like, there's a lot of gossip, it's fun.
So you get this guitar. What do you remember what your first guitar was? Like your
It
first
was
like
an
say
acoustic It was an acoustic guitar that my dad got for me when he was in Turkey. It was a
okay.
nylon string guitar, and I don't know that it had like any brand name or anything like that. I think it was
Yeah.
just like generic guitar that you buy on a business trip for
Sure.
your kid.
I feel like nylons are really good to start out with. They're pretty easily
Yeah,
accessible and
yeah.
don't
It
dirt.
gives you something to look forward to because if you start an electric guitar, you're already at the top.
Yeah.
I had to earn my way from nylon string to an electric guitar.
Yeah. So a lot of the musicians that I've talked to here, and especially in the punk post-hardcore scene, like music and skating went kind of hand in hand. Like a lot of
Yeah.
the time, the skate culture went into punk rock or whatever. Were you part of like? Did you skateboard? Were you part of skate culture?
Yeah. When I got into punk stuff, I immediately wanted to get into skateboarding. So I got a skateboard and, I would practice all the time. I was never good at that either, to be honest.
Yeah.
But our little crew, luckily no one in our crew was good. So I didn't really lag behind too hard.
Yeah.
But, I loved it. It was just like a thing to do when we were all hanging out. And, yeah, it's a cool activity. I love skateboarding.
Yeah.
I ended up breaking my ankle later in my teenage years playing, skating. And then I just never really came back from that. I never really had the same, I mean, obviously I didn't feel like I was that good anyway.
Yeah.
But breaking my ankle really kind of sealed the deal for me. I
Yeah.
just never really sat into it again.
Yeah. Sidelined you. I had some
Yeah.
friends like that in Jersey. Yeah. Super good.
Yeah.
But then they broke their ankle or something like that. Being that this is kind of a more mental health based kind of podcast, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about kind of just the intersectionality for you of obviously music and mental health, but also like spirituality. And I don't. Were you heavily involved in Christian core?
Because my friends were all, not all, but quite a few of my friends really, were instrumental in creating that. I mean,
Yeah.
Ray Kappa from Youth Today, I would say invented the genre. But I was never myself practicing Krishna consciousness. I would say I'm adjacent to it, and I think it's great. And I've chanted and gone to many kirtans and um I think it's great.
Is there any form of spirituality that you practice currently, or like what's your relationship like with any sort of spirituality?
um I find my spirituality in the sort of the mystery of the universe. I find it
Sure.
in nature. I find it in music. I find it in meditation and when I'm running. um I find it in my relationships. Um, I find it in coincidences. Um, I find it in what else do I find it in? Yeah, art, film, like the thing that makes there's a force that makes things happen
Uh,
and that just there's so much that we can't perceive or understand that I feel is benevolent in some way,
Sure.
and kind of like or like in dogs, like a dog's mindset. I see spirituality in that,
Uh-huh.
but I'm not like I'm not connected to any sort of like personalized God,
Organized religion,
or
yeah.
I think there's a work and organized stuff, but I think I feel I know people that are involved in organized religions, and you know ones that are like major religions, and ones that are
Sure.
would be could be considered cults, and like I think that like any sort of thing can be really, really wonderful in your life. And for some people it's maybe it's to each his own, kind of
Yeah.
on it,
Yeah. How does spirituality find its way into your music that you write or lyrics that you write?
I feel like I'm trying to uplift people for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of go between things. Like sometimes I'm trying to like, I range in my sort of strategies, or my intention. Like sometimes I'm trying to purge something, or maybe tell a story about something that I think is funny or interesting. Uh, but a lot of the time, and I think some of the music that I'm best known for is to try to lift people up, and find something, in my life when I struggle, I have my coping mechanisms, and I have my sort of mantras that I go to. And, especially on this most recent record, I kind of dug more into that than anything else, like, uh, how to stay positive in the face of like, so many challenges, and so much, sadness and cruelty in the world,
Yeah.
and all these things that could just sort of freeze you, and how do you rise above it? How do you get out of it? Like, so I feel I'm kind of drawing spiritually in those kind of situations for myself, where
Yeah.
they're challenging spiritually, or I have to draw deep, dig deeper
Yeah.
sometimes to find out like, how the fuck do I get through this?
Sure.
Um, and so sometimes I think my music is spiritual in that sense, but again, it's not. I think that someone might interpret it, could say, oh well, that's God working through
Sure.
you, but I wouldn't I wouldn't be so bold as to say that, but it's coming
Right.
from some sort of imaginary place sometimes, because I don't really feel like I'm doing it, or I'll observe it later on and I'll be like, oh wow, that made a lot more sense than I thought it did,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and so I don't know, it's not like my primary thing. It's just like I like I do believe that there's a mystery in the world that we can't understand, and that we're trying to put our finger on it. I don't always need to understand it. I assume I never will.
Yeah.
But it is comforting to know that there is something out there that I can't see, that I can't know, and it keeps life interesting.
Yeah. I keep going. I think I asked you one time just what was Paranoid Detectives about the show Paranoid Detectives about psychic kids.
Is there a show called
No,
Paranoid
Psychic
Detectives?
Kids. It was Psychic Kids.
Oh yeah, Psychic
Yeah,
Kid.
yeah, and you said kind of, but not really. At the same time, but it tracks so well with the kid with that show. But
Yeah.
that kind of seems maybe that's kind of what you're talking. There's like a tapping into a story that kind of like I feel like you have a
Yes.
real uncanny ability to
That's
do that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that's kind of a thing I'll do every once in a while. Something will just kind of interest me, and I kind of put myself in it, and I try
Yeah.
to do it from like a sympathetic and maybe sometimes a little bit funny point of view,
Yeah.
It's sort of like green screen when you put yourself in some sort of weird universe and kind of float around in it.
I was going to ask, you mentioned something about like how you cope with things. In I mean,
Uh-huh.
there's so much shit going on right now, right? And throughout all our lives,
Yeah.
there's so much
Uh,
shit kind of going. Like,
yeah.
what do you gravitate towards in terms of dealing with either mental, physical hardship in terms of like coping?
Well, I kind of put it in my head that I recognize, and it's taken me a long time, is like where you're, because I'm feeling a certain way, and I'm seeing, you know, doom and gloom. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
forecasting disaster. That I will kind of remind myself that that's just kind of what my brain is doing right
Yeah.
now, and that because my brain is forecasting disaster, it's trying to like get me to like maybe take action, which is a good thing. Um, but that could also uh pull me under, you
Sure.
know. So I have just reminding myself of that is helpful, because it's just like this is what, of course there's things that you have to pay attention to your surroundings and your goings on, but like when I find myself in like a doom mindset, I realize that like I could just feel completely different if I was just in a different state of mind, and I might see it completely different. Maybe I need a good night's sleep, or maybe I need to go for a run or do some yoga, or go meet a friend and just change my to something to remind myself that the world is not like this disaster waiting to happen. You know what I mean? And
Sure.
so often I find afterwards that whatever I was worrying about never comes to pass. And I just spent part of my life worrying about some sort of thing in my own mind about like, in a place of fear or something like that. And I'm never at my best when I'm in that state of mind. So I try to recognize it, and, I have like going for a walk. I think physical exercise is really good for that.
Yeah.
It's like a very natural, kind of way to clear your head out, run your body around,
Right. Yeah.
or stretch, tire your body out to calm your mind, you know. So I think that's always a good way. But talking to a friend, just putting on some music that makes you feel hopeful or good. Because your brain's going to tell you all kinds of different shit. People's brains are wired differently. There's people's brains that don't struggle with those things, and they're probably having a great time. But my brain is wired the way that it is, and that how in some ways it's a challenge, but in other ways it like lets me see certain things or gives me a certain perspective on life that I think is makes me me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the great thing about the brain is that it's it's has plasticity, right? So you can retrain the brain in certain ways, in different neural pathways, and like a lot of kind of what you're talking about in a certain sense kind of mimics some cognitive behavioral theory kind of principles, in terms of like a therapeutic or
Mm-hmm.
mental health standpoint. Is kind of, we all have these kind of go to what they would call like automatic thoughts or cognitive distortions, right? Whether that's like the doom and gloom, everything sucks, and then being able to challenge thoughts and kind of navigate that is pretty essential when it comes to anxiety and depression and things like that.
Uh-huh.
I'm kind of curious. I mean, you've been touring since you were how old, Walter?
My first tour I think was in '87.
Okay.
And that was a fucking good time. So yeah,
Yeah.
so whatever year it is now, to probably 40 years.
Okay. Okay. And how old are you now?
I'm 57.
Okay. What do you find is the difference, both maybe physically, mentally, how you approach touring now versus when you were way younger?
I think now I mean, there's something to be said for like it being new. Now I think I still find it interesting, just like traveling around and being with my friends, playing the music. I'm just kind of built for it. I just love it. Like every night's a new adventure, in terms of like who am I going to see in the city that I know? I guess the difference is that I know a lot of people in these cities
Yeah.
that I've just like made a life of it. So I have really, really good friends all over the world.
Yeah.
That's a really strange thing.
Yeah.
And beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Um, and so I guess I kind of float in that. I mean, it's different from when I was a kid. Also, because I do it professionally. You know what I mean? Back then, I was just on a trip. You know what I mean? And I still am, but it is how I make a living. So I guess that makes it different. But my approach to what I'm doing is very much the same. I don't know why I just love traveling. I love seeing the world. I love being with my bandmates. I love how your music expands and being connected to all these peers. I see people that I've known that have had similar lives to mine, and I see them all over the world, and it's just cool.
Yeah. Do you have kids or anything like that?
I do have a daughter.
Okay. Was that any, being away from family and stuff like that, was that a harder part of tour? Like, what were some of the more difficult or challenging aspects of tour?
When my daughter was young, I wasn't touring as much. I think it really like having a child, like, maybe more choosy, about what I would do.
Sure.
I would just, so I wasn't just doing it all for the fun of it. You know what I mean? I'd have to pick what I wanted to do. And some things would just be because my criteria is like obviously financial, but creative, or just fun. You know what I mean? So that's how it all kind of comes together. But I had to be more choosy because I needed to be home. So
Right.
I toured less. Now my daughter's 18, so I'm kind of more free to loosen up my schedule, just do whatever kind of calls to me that I
Yeah.
find interesting.
When you're not touring, do you get antsy?
No, I'm really very happy to not be touring.
Okay.
Although when I'm going on tour, I'm stoked.
Yeah.
But like I'm the last few years have been very active for me, which I'm grateful for. But when I am home, I'm really happy to be home because like I'm in New York, sporadically. It's hard for me to get in a real groove,
Yeah.
because I'll be home for like a month maybe is good for me. And then I'll be out for like a week or, weekends or something like that. So, it's that can be challenging, but right now I kind of feel like I'm getting booked a lot and it's going well. My body's still working. My voice still works. So I'm happy to be able to do it.
I just, something that's always kind of amazed me about being in bands, especially as long as you have been, is like you have these different personalities, entities, people in a band, right? Like a band's like a family or brotherhood, like whatever you want to call it. Being able to make that happen, I've never been able to make it happen, and there's a lot of bands who can't make it happen because there's just too much infighting and stuff like that. What have you found has been a way to be successful in kind of taking all these different personalities and really melding them together? Like, what's been something that you feel like you've been successful, or the guys you've been in a band with have been successful at doing, and being able to keep it together, so to speak?
I think, I learned at an early age, which I was very lucky to get involved in like making bands and was able to like be successful at a young age. So I really just like learned at a young age how to do it, how to work with people, how to kind of gauge an audience and like the musical conversation, like I was in a very, very creative and supportive scene. And so on a sort of by the time I graduated high school, I'd already put out, a few records and had, played all over the country and, kind of understood like how zines work, how booking shows work. So I had a very good education early on. But I think, some people that I work with are just so easy and I love them so much and we just gel, and other people like I might feel the same way about them, but it's more challenging. And I'm that way for people too, you know what I mean? I'm generally an agreeable guy, but when you're trying to make a creative thing, you have different points of view, or in those environments, you're different people, So I think I found good people early on, had a good education in how it's all done. And also like I'm into it, and I pair with people that are actually into it, because if you have shared goals and you want to do the same things, you got a way better chance of getting there than if you got people that are going to be pumping the brakes all the time, or emotionally can't handle the chaos of it. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of chaos, and especially if you're trying to make a living through music, it's absolutely, I think it's crazy.
Yeah.
Because you could just, or anything in the arts is like that, honestly. Like it's just, you could be so good and be so talented and put so much work into it, and it just won't ever pay off in that way. So that's, I think, frustrating for people. And you can put out really great work and people just won't pick up on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's very frustrating too. So you're not going to get that. You won't necessarily get your rent paid or get your ego stroked and still be doing great work. That's very frustrating.
Yeah.
But, I'm lucky to have created enough opportunities and had enough successes that it's just propelled me to where, like, yeah, I'm still love it. And I feel like I'm doing as great a work as I've ever done.
That's a blessing. Yeah. That's awesome. And like, you're pretty damn successful at it. You've had Gorilla Biscuits, Youth Today, you've had Rival Schools, Quicksand. Like, you're really successful at keeping shit together. So kudos to you. Kudos to you.
I appreciate you. I was really fishing for that one.
No, that's what I have consistently said to people. They're like, there's nothing that Walter Schreifels puts out that I don't like. And I think that's like incredibly rare for musicians in general. There's a general talent and a knack. And I kind of wonder what bands, because sometimes you'll go on tour with Rival Schools, and then you'll go on tour with Quicksand, and then you'll be on tour with Gorilla Biscuits. Like, how do you time that, or when do you decide, like, hey, now's the time, we're gonna go do a tour with Rival Schools?
They all have their infrastructures. I mean, Quicksand's the main band that's like active as like a contemporary thing. Youth of Today, the drummer Sammy kind of puts it together, and he's the one that leads the thread. He also leads the thread on Rival Schools. So I'm sort of like, when I can do it and when it makes sense for everybody, we'll do stuff. Gorilla Biscuits gets a little bit more busy. And we just get offers, we have a team We have a little bit of a structure for Gorilla Biscuits, but it's all based on friendships and uh long-term working relationships. So, I would say Gorilla Biscuits and Quicksand are probably the most active. The other things that I do more like case by case when it makes sense and when it's fun for everybody. And I'm not really leading any of them on a business level. No, I mean, of course I'm involved, but I'm not. They all have some sort of either infrastructure or a more like business minded guy. I'm more like responding or to what's put in front of me. Yeah. Yeah. I've done that too. I've done it all. So like I can run any of these bands, Uh but I don't I think I would drive everyone else crazy because my that's not my forte. Because I can do my own stuff. I do my solo stuff when I do it, and I organize my own schedule within all these different things. So I'm a very good organizer, actually. But it works for me. I don't know if my system works for other people. Uh, that would I usually it's the people that I would drive most insane that pick up the mantle. Mhm. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to be glib, but I think COVID was, and completely taken away from all of the mental and people dying and all that kind of stuff. But for me, I loved it, to be honest. I was upstate. I was saying before, like being in one place for me is rare. So just being in one place for like however long that went on, I absolutely loved it. I had nothing to do but like whatever I wanted to do, which was great for me. I just started running long distance. I just got really healthy, and went on hikes and just did fun nature shit. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I
I
feel
didn't
like
get like depressed.
yeah. Yeah, no, for me, I think there's two sides of the coin for people, right? Like I think it was like really fucking tough for teenagers and kids. For me, it didn't
Yeah,
change much of my life. Like if anything, I started this podcast during that time, got more involved in music
yeah,
and getting back into playing and stuff like that. So there was like really positive outcomes for people too. And there was like the whole
yeah,
dark side. And I think people sometimes feel a little bit guilty about the fact that maybe it was like, this was actually a pretty cool time for me, or don't want to like say that out loud
yeah.
because
I
there was,
do.
yeah,
I don't feel guilty about having a good time, but I feel bad saying that without acknowledging the fact that, people lost their parents or, or maybe really had a mental meltdown in that
yeah,
time. And it was very isolating. And I think everybody's experience was different. But for me and like for my lifestyle, it was really, really awesome to be able to like not have to do anything. And just, it was like this, and I'm so social, like in my career, every town I go to, I have so many friends and there's fans I'm talking to and there's my bandmates. It's like an endless social thing. And I'm kind of built for that. But in COVID, it was just, just me and my family. And I loved it.
yeah, yeah,
I needed it,
yeah.
or I
Um,
appreciated it.
yeah, I was gonna say, well, sometimes you do need it too, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody needs
Yeah.
a break, for sure. So, I mean, it seems like you would be consider yourself an extroverted guy for the most part. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, um, yeah. I guess like you know, for you, how has music been, um, just a a bomb maybe for your own mental health?
Mm-hmm.
just in terms of writing music, listening to music.
Yeah, I think it's a big time. I mean, it's when I play live, I really feel like I'm in a flow state, so
Yeah.
like it really makes time kind of stand still, and I'm like everything that I'm doing is just kind of focused in this exchange, and my brain is just firing, and at the same time I'm completely like in a sort of I'm in this flow state where I just feel like a natural instinctual animal, and I think that being in that state is good for my health. And when I'm working on music with friends, or if I'm even by myself, if I'm working on music, like I'm drawing it in my creativity, and my brain is occupied in this creative endeavor. And I think that helps me focus and makes me feel like I have purpose and that I have something to share with people. Um, and so I feel community, and I feel um challenged all the time.
Mhm.
So I feel like I gotta stick around. I got something that I got work to do. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And for all of those reasons, and millions of corollary reasons, like just people. I'll just go on my Instagram, and people will say like the nicest things to me, and I don't know them. And if I'm ever feeling like, I suck, I'm not a
Yeah.
good guy, I could just, and someone that I don't even know will say something so nice to me that it's like amazing. So like that's another fact of music, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like being good for my soul. Not that I need to get gassed, you know what I mean? I
Yeah. Yeah.
don't. Oh, I appreciate that what I do, what I've shared, whatever work it took me to like get something out and for people to listen to it, that it made a connection with somebody that I, don't even know, and that we're somehow, you know, in some sort of thing, you know what I mean? A shared reality to some degree, and that we have the same, maybe certain emotional kind of responses to something that makes me feel like less alone in the world, you know what I mean? And all that stuff, dude, that's all really great, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's a fucking pain in the ass, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's also like a world without pain in the ass is like, I don't know if I want to live in that world. It would
Right.
just get bored.
Yeah. There's always growth in the pains in the
Yeah.
ass parts of it.
Opportunities for personal growth is what I
Yeah.
look for.
Yeah. And in receiving all that kind of connection, or just even some of that, like, I don't know. I don't want to say praise. That's not what I mean. Is there ever times where you have to be conscious of your own ego in that state?
Well, yeah, but I think most people are, I don't know that I'm like, even though I'm more prone to getting compliments because of my music's out there and there's like social media, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
um, I don't think that it's like altered my perception. I think I'm at a good level of fame where I can also just be very normal,
Yeah.
and no one gives a shit who I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and people are generally cool to me there too, because people are generally not looking to be a pain in the ass.
Right.
So, I have enough experience with that, that when I'm in a, just basically if I, when we just put out this new record, I'd be getting a lot of praise from it. That makes me feel good. It doesn't make me feel like all powerful, or
I'm
that
a
I gotta,
god. Yeah.
I don't get into that, but like, why not feel good about it? You know
No,
what I
yeah,
mean?
totally. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think there's, I don't know, there's this, from a fan side or just from somebody watching, there's like, whether we want to or not, there's a pedestal that we can put people up on, right?
Yeah.
And then like you know, it's that whole thing of like never meet your heroes, right? Well, it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I mean, luckily not even luckily, I get a chance to meet people that I really admire on here,
Mhm.
and they're all the greatest people. You know, there's never been somebody who's been like a complete ass, like an asshole to
Yeah.
me. You know,
Yeah.
and
Well,
that's
that's good.
yeah, yeah. And I've interviewed a lot of people on here, you know, who've been really fortunate and given some a lot of time and stuff. Like, one of the questions I have for you, because we'll be done here in like a few minutes, but when I listen, well, first of all, how did you not get sued for having a band name called Rival Schools and then having an album called United by Fate? That's
That
a
is great.
genuine
That's a great question. The legal team sorted it out. What I found out is if you make up a thing that is not in the same category, like Rival Schools United by Fate is a video game. We were making a band called Rival Schools, and which is not a video game. And we made an album called United by Fate, which is also not a video game. So there was no whatever. The lawyers, they didn't go in with the lawyers at Island Records made sure we weren't going to get sued.
I was going to say, how did Island Records okay that?
No, their lawyers were on it. Yeah. Okay. So I was very happy because I did not want to rename the band or rename the album. You know, we were pretty locked into it at that point.
Yeah. And was that a game you guys were playing at the time?
No, as I didn't, but I saw it at, it was, down the Lower East Side. There was like a little crappy pizza place on Avenue A that I went into when I was like kind of trying to think of a name for the band. And in the back of the pizza place, they had this video game called Rival Schools United by Fate. And I just thought that was just so funny. Like, what happened to like games like Space Invaders or Asteroids? Now it's like, it's this whole sentence.
Right.
And I just thought
that
was funny. So I wanted to name the band Rival Schools United by Fate, but we ultimately decided, because then Rival Schools United by Fate and the album is called whatever. You know what I mean? It just gets long.
Right.
So then we had the idea to make it Rival Schools and the album be United by Fate.
And you even like that silhouetted image. Isn't that part of the game too?
No, that was I got from a T-shirt that something that I got in like a vintage T-shirt place. It was like for some running thing, like some sort of, you know, like in the 70s when people are into jogging.
Yeah.
It was some sort of like pro jogging
T-shirt
thing. And you know, I had my friend like change some little aspect of it. So yeah, that was where we got that thing.
Nice. Well, segueing into the fact that like for me, that album takes me back to a very particular time in my life, where I was going through something like incredibly hard. You know how music tends to get people through things, right?
Yeah.
And it transports us back to those places in a very significant way.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious for you, what are some albums that transport you in a significant way back to time periods in your life that are very tangible or very real for you?
I really love Hatful of Hollow by the Smiths. When I was a teenager, I had moved back to New York, and my mom had moved to Astoria, so I didn't have any friends. And I had Hatful of Hollow, and I just wore that record out that summer. That was a very important record for me. I really loved let me think. So it's kind of like records that when you're just in a shit place, like that pulls you out of it. That's the idea of it, right?
Well, it's more just kind of like, I think there's certain albums that really put you really back in a time or space that is almost like tangible, or it doesn't necessarily have to be like shitty.
Hatful of Hollow is like that. Oh, okay. Hatful of Hollow does that for me. Rock and Roll High School soundtrack. I listened to that 5 million times. Probably Isn't Anything by My Bloody Valentine. I listened to that about 1 million times. What else? REM's Reckoning. And Murmur. I listened to Murmur a shit ton of times. U2, Unforgettable Fire. Listen to that a shit ton of times. Dag Nasty, Can I Say? Fugazi, The Argument. I don't know. There's a shit ton, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a shit ton of them. The Cure, Head on the Door. Yeah, I don't know. Music has Bjork's one of Bjork's records I really loved. There's just like sometimes you just get into a record and you're friggin' obsessed on it.
Right.
Right. It happens to me every once in a while.
Yeah. Like I can very much, like when I listen to anything off of United by Fate, like I can picture myself, because I was interning in the city at that time, and I can picture myself listening and then also like being transported, back
that's
to the,
so cool.
to the port, or just, I mean, it wasn't a fantastic time in my life.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
at that point, you know what I mean? But like, it's a record that got me through that, which I think is like the most significant, the most significant part of it, but I think that's
that have that connection.
Yeah. To have, I have just loved everything. Like I've seen you guys I traveled from up here in Bellingham down to Portland to go see Rival Schools when I think you guys did your first reunion tour, which was like, like 2013, 2014, maybe? I don't know. But I'm
not sure.
It was a 4.5-hour drive. I told my wife at the time, I was like, I'm going by myself to go do this. So yeah, I've loved you guys for a long time, and
thank you.
This has been a dream for me, just to be able to say hello and interview you.
Thank you.
I have one last question for you.
Uh-huh.
This is kind of one that I ask almost everybody on here.
Okay.
What is something that you would tell your like 18, 20-year-old self?
Don't sweat the small stuff. It's all small stuff. Like, hang in there. It's like, it's important to take things seriously to a certain degree, but also, I think I at some point just felt like everything depends on this one thing working or not. And over time I realized that, actually, it's a good Gorilla Biscuit lyric that I wrote, that goes, I've worked so hard on things that never seem to pay off, but looking back, I realized it never really meant that much.
Yeah.
Like the things that you think are so important, they're just fucking not. It's like, just keep hanging in there, stay in the game, and there's going to be bumps in the road, there's going to be challenges, but don't let it defeat you. That's a long advice, but well, I speak in paragraphs.
All right, man, I'm going to let you go. I'll probably never, ever get to say this again, but I just wanted to say thank you so much, because your music has meant so much to me throughout my entire life, from 20 years old to 40, almost 43 now. Like I said, albums put me back, listening to Gorilla Biscuits running through the streets of Philadelphia, or when Petals came out, going to concerts and all that stuff. And I really, really relish that. And your music has been a big part of my life. And I want you to know that it means a lot to me as a fan. And literally half of my wardrobe is rival school stuff. So
yeah, cool dresser
at this point. Yeah. So thank you, Walter. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for just who you've been and what you've created. Cause it's touched my life, and ergo other people around me, I'm sure, as well. So especially being a therapist, like I get to touch people's lives a lot, you know, in that way.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's wonderful, Jeremy. I really appreciate you saying so. And, yeah, we're, you know, the music is therapy. Therapy is therapy, you know, like, it's really wonderful. And I appreciate you reaching out to have me on the podcast.
Thank you so much, man. Good luck with the album, tour and everything. You're made to do this. So.
All right. Thanks so much, Jeremy. Be good,
dude.
brother.
Have a good one.
Take care.
Bye. Well, that does it for the episode. Man, it's not every day that you get to talk to somebody who's made a radical impact in your life. So I am so thankful for Walter being able to come on and talk. Safe and Sound is a podcast by me, Jeremy Houtsma, licensed mental health counselor. Opening music is Burned Out and Broken In by The Beautiful Mistake. Outro music is Safe and Sound by Small Brown Bike. We'll see you next time.